In the last lecture, we configured Firebase. Now let's make sure we do actually create new users through this RESTful API endpoint Firebase gives us. I'm going to copy this endpoint here, and I will use it in the signup.view file. Now actually there, we target users.json, and we are using our custom Axios instance. In case you don't know where this is coming from, I added it in the module, the new module where I introduce Axios. It essentially is a file which creates an Axios instance with our own settings which we can use across the application. And there we can set up a base URL which is used in every file where we import and use this instance. I plan on using this in the signup.view file, so I will actually store my URL in here, in base URL. Not the entire URL though, only up to relying party. Everything thereafter, which is sign up new user and then this query parameter, should be cut out and moved back into signup.view, because I want to send my post request no longer to /users.json, but to sign up new user here. This will now target this REST API provided by Firebase. Now, the API key widget demands here can be found in your Firebase account. Simply make sure to click on Web Setup here on the Authentication tab, and in the window which opens, you can copy that API key. Once you copied it, head over to your application, and there simply replace API key, including the square brackets, with that key. That is your identification criteria, so to say. Now with that, we are targeting the right endpoint. We're sending the wrong data though. And of course, the data you need to send always depends on the backend you're using. Our backend, Firebase, expects to get a JavaScript object which has an email property, a password property, and then this return secure token property, which is a Boolean, which should always be true as it says here. So we can do that. Let's change the data we send to not be our form data object, but instead to be a JavaScript object where email is form data email. I do have an email key there, where we also have this password field it requires, form data password, and where we also have this return secure token here, this return secure token property, which should just be true. This is the post request I want to send. This is the request which actually should give us a valid user. Now let's save this file and let's go back to our application. Let's head back to the running app and go to the sign up page. And now we need to enter an email address which hasn't been taken yet. I haven't signed up any user through that Firebase API, so all email addresses should be valid. The other fields are totally up to you, they won't be checked. The password for Firebase has to be at least 6 characters long. And then you don't need to check anything else. We're not validating the form yet. You can hit submit. Now here I'm getting an error. That error is coming from my authorization header I'm setting on this request right now. So let's go back to our application, to Axios auth.js, and let's simply comment out this global config here, as well as in the main.js file, our global authorization header. Here it's actually a problem. So now with that, let's try this again. Let's quickly enter a valid email address and a valid password and hit submit. And now it works. I get back a successful response. In the data I get back, I get such a token, which I mentioned earlier. I also get an additional token, a refresh token, which can always be used to refresh this ID token, which is very short-lived. It only lasts 1 hour, expires in seconds, and the email address I used. We can verify that the user was created on our Firebase backend on authentication if we refresh this user's page. Here we see this email address we just used and a user ID which was generated automatically. So with that, we got a way to sign users up. Now in the next lecture, let's add logic to sign them in before we then finally start working on that token and learn how to use that token.